Sheng Pu'er, green tea. Lots of similarities, lots of differences.
Let's find out. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. Today we have two genuine teas that we want to discover and deepen into. Actually, two categories, Brian. On your side, we have a relatively fresh Sheng Pu'er from 2020, spring 2020. It is not yet on the shop, and actually I don't even remember which is his name. I don't have it in mind, so I will write it on the screen. It doesn't matter very much. And I said it will be online maybe in some months. And this one is Luang Guapian, so a traditional medium-sized leaf green tea from spring 2021. And well, you know, there are a lot of commonalities between Sheng and green tea. Can we say that?
Yeah.
Starting from the processing of killing the green, then giving shape to the leaves and drying. Those three steps are actually the steps that are found in both production. And sometimes you have also the withering done before the killing the green. That is more common in Sheng, but sometimes it's done also in green tea. So while maybe we deepen a little bit about the differences between the two processes, we can start weighting the leaves. Sure, so maybe let's do 4 grams each.
4 grams.
Yeah. And this is out of the camera, so it's better we can do that here so that everyone see.
We'll just do.
Yeah, we can do even in a cup, you know. Yeah. And so we were saying Sheng, Pu'er, and green tea have a lot of commonalities. In this video, we don't want to ask ourselves the question, which are really, you know, the same thing. Why is actually Sheng a different category than green tea? Is Sheng Pu'er a heicha or is not? Those are, I mean, certainly worth asking, question worth asking. We will maybe answer those in a different dedicated video. Today we simply want to concentrate on the taste, particularly for those of you that are familiar to green tea and don't yet understand what pu'er lovers really, really enjoy in Sheng Pu'er. And actually you are a pu'er lover and in particular of Sheng, right?
I am, yeah, both. And I'm sorry I'm being slow here. I'm trying to get the tea out without touching the leaves in the bag.
Tricky.
So it's tricky. It's very tricky. These are bigger leaves. Tend to get caught in each other. But we're right there, so that's good.
All right, yeah. And
so
this is your 4 grams, okay.
So 2 different kinds of storage style, I guess, for Sheng. Usually you would see Sheng pressed in a cake. This is not pressed in a cake. So this is Mao Cha.
And it's actually intentional, right? Because there are differences between the two, but in this way, and I'm touching the leaves, but well, too late. In this case, we want to have 2 teas that are loose in a way, so that we can better compare the two. And well, what we can mention about similarities or differences between green tea.
There you go, 4.
And yeah, put that next to that one. So between green tea and pu'er, well, we will find out when we drink. One aspect now is we have to decide how to brew them because it's a comparison, so we have to brew them in the same way.
Well, first of all, I mean, look at the difference visually.
Well, yeah, let's start with that.
Right, very green. Not so much.
Yeah.
Bigger leaves, smaller leaves.
Much dark. Amazing how dark it is. Oh, we have to say this is a gushu from wild tea trees, and it's a farmer tea. It means that's why also it's not pressed because it's never gone to a factory. It's just Mao Cha. And by the way, we did a video about Mao Cha. If you ask yourself what is Mao Cha, have a look. And yeah, so it's really farmer leaves. Well, this is really very fresh, and it's not so fresh the color. It's difficult to show you guys, but I will put let's do like that because I have already taken pictures of both. I think so. You can have a look here at Luang Guapian, which is the tea I am preparing, and at this unknown name pu'er that were taken just by Rina some time ago. So the question is, how do we want to steep them? Because green tea, like Guangguapian, I would go for 80 degrees centigrade. For Sheng, we would just go for 100 degrees. But we want to compare. So maybe shall we do something in between?
Well, so one of the interesting things about tasting tea, you can brew it so it tastes good, or you can brew it so it brings out all the flavors, right? We could brew them both at 100 and then really get a good comparison. It may not taste that great
Okay,
for the green, but at least we'll pull all the flavors.
well, you know what? We're in Denver. There is no way
There
to
is
brew
no
them.
100, yeah.
There is no 100 because we are at elevation, so we can do 95.
That works for me.
And okay, so one aspect is the cultivar, for example. Sheng Pu'er, I think we have to keep everything a bit closer. Sheng Pu'er is done actually with large leaf variety, while green tea you have both. You have large leaf variety green tea and small leaf. Most of the green tea, especially those done in the east of China, are with small leaf variety, like Luangguapian. Although we have chosen Luangguapian because greater large leaves are harvested. And then you have, we said the withering, and the withering is a bit tricky because most Sheng Pu'er are withered. It means when the farmer brings the leaves to the processing house, he would first distribute the leaves on the ground, wait a little bit that the leaves get rid of water content, and then kill the green. This is sometimes done in green tea, and I really seen withering done for hours before killing the green, and sometimes the producer would rush to kill the green. Still warming up. In fact, sometime even in Yunnan, when the field was very far back in the days and they had to do the kill the green, the picker would bring the wok with them to the tea field so that in midday they would make a fire and then make the kill the green. The kill the green is meant to enzyme the leaves so that you stop oxidation before it starts.
Yeah, it's also called fixing, right?
Fixing,
same thing,
yeah,
or frying.
Yeah.
It basically locks in that dark green color.
Exactly, yeah. While if they would just take the leaves in their basket and walk maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours back home, in the hot, humid climate, you will get already some withering and oxidation on the way.
Yeah, just like an apple. When you cut an apple open, it browns almost immediately.
Yeah. Shall we just not rinse both?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
Just a normal steep. So you will, yeah, let's wait. You wait a little bit longer so that we steep them similar as much as we can. Okay. And so we mentioned the cultivar, we mentioned the withering. That's another aspect. Hold on, what else we can mention?
Storage.
Storage, that's the point.
That's probably one of the biggest ones.
You want to say that?
Yeah, so when you store green tea, basically you want to prevent it from oxidizing. And that means you're going to refrigerate it, and you're going to put it in a sealed bag and try to keep air from getting to it. The opposite pretty much is true for Sheng Pu'er. So for Sheng, you want it to oxidize over time and you're storing it for a long time. I guess there are exceptions. I mean, for me, I'd like to have a younger Sheng, but a younger Sheng means something like 5 years old, where a younger green is maybe 5 days old. So it's
storage, like Pu'er storage being wrapped in a permeable paper is actually meant to change over time. Well, with green tea, you try to reach exactly the opposite. So depending, and you have seen, we have chosen 2 teas that are packed in the same bag, and this bag is aluminized on the inside, so that actually we have kind of remove a little bit that effect.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow, look how it's like.
It's verdant.
Wow. I got stick.
Boiling yourself. So here's the Pu'er. Which camera should we do? Go ahead and see if you throw that one on there. So it's still pretty dark brown, but it did green up a little bit. And there is your melon seed. Green tea.
Yeah, the Luangguapian. Yeah, that looks much older, but maybe also because of these wild leaves. So let's start. So here, Brian, let's pretend that we don't know much about green and Sheng, and we just want to search if there is any similarity in taste or differences, and why we like one or the other. Oh wow, we are starting
opposite sides.
Okay.
It's okay.
That's fine. That's out. Hey, this tea resists pretty well bitterness actually with 95 degrees. Well, the Sheng probably does as well, but
The Sheng is very good.
like it?
Yeah, that's really good. I haven't had either of these yet, so
Yeah,
both new to me.
first time. Oops, same to me actually. Oh yeah.
You know, I wasn't going in expecting there'd be much similarity, but there's actually a lot of similarity, more than I expected.
So what we can say is, to me, the Luang Guopian is clearly fresher.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
more vegetal.
It's more vegetal, it's fresher, while in in the Sheng, although it is a fresh Sheng, you don't have that grassy component to it.
It's actually bizarrely mellow for a fresh Sheng. Usually they're a little rough, but this is actually really mellow.
Let's see how it develops, though, right?
It'll change over time.
What do you have in there?
Sheng.
Sheng, okay.
Of course, that is the wash as well.
Otherwise, it's out of the camera.
Yeah.
Okay, one aspect is this, the freshness. They are both not bitter, we have to say, not yet,
no,
at least.
Not at all. And it is surprising for both.
Let's do another steep. I mean, we have a lot of tea. It's a bit of a pity, but want to move on and compare more. So 92 degrees. Let's keep the 92 degrees.
Can we do a longer steep?
We can do. Yeah, let's see how they develop. We melt.
So you don't know much about this Sheng, just as a gushu of some sort?
Yes, I actually didn't check really. I know it is a gushu, I know it is a wild tea, because this is one of the series that we have really addressed, so try to find farmer tea. So it is a gushu from a wild plant, just grow by themselves, and or maybe, I don't know exactly if it is original that they were really just growing by themselves, or maybe back in the days they were cultivated and then they were left grown over the years. I don't know that. I don't even know. I didn't check really where they come from or so, because I thought let's look only and take the fresher Sheng that we have on stock, which was this one 2020, for making a more a comparison. Yeah. Sun drying, we should also mention, and the fact that actually pu'er is always, if done properly, dried at the sun. And this is done usually the day after. So you have to imagine you pick up the leaves, and then you go back to, the farmer goes back to his house. Usually they process the leaves in the house, and there they do a little bit of withering, then they do the kill the green in the wok or in a tumbler, and then they shape the leaves. They leave the leaves there overnight, and then the next day in the morning when the sun rises, they spread the leaves on some mats under the sun. So it has been wet, moistured leaves for the whole night long. Well, for green tea, you don't do that. For green tea, you want actually to have a fast processing and drying them fast. And even in Yunnan, they tend to do so. They don't let them overnight. So that's another difference.
Because you're stopping the oxidation.
Well, yeah, if you, I mean, the kill the green stop the oxidation, but water, things in water get rusty. So it's there is a lot of oxygen in water. So, and there are green teas that are dried at the sun, but just a few of them. So like Luang Guopian was not dried at the sun, while the pu'er was. Another thing, the texture. So this pu'er has a thicker texture than the Luang Guopian, and Luang Guopian is a green tea that has a thick texture. Actually, it is somewhat more oily, more viscous. The pu'er, and there's and if you want to think about, let's speak about the texture. I find that this texture of the pu'er is more like um, a, like the ocean on a windy day,
Oh,
a
okay.
bit,
Sure.
while the Luangwapian is the ocean on a calm day.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a bit
Flatter?
yeah, flatter in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. Not like in a negative way, but just
Hmm.
more consistent over the palate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean the green's brighter. The pu'er is sweeter, probably because there's bigger and more stems in it. I think it's more consistent when you're picking the greens because those are really fine plucks and they're very consistent. What size of leaf? These are all over the place, so you have a lot of the variability. Pressing certainly changes it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And yeah, because
Well,
that's
yeah.
a further step of you know when you press it, you steam it, you wrap it, push it down. Of course, that's bruising leaves a little bit more. It's sort of almost
And you
pre-steeping
steam them.
Right.
So you steam them, and then those cakes are still wet, and you just
Right.
dry them on at air in shadow. Usually, you don't put them out in the sun. So it is at the end when they are dried and they are wrapped, they still have a higher moisture content than a green tea that has been dried on the wok, for example,
Right.
at very high
Yeah.
temperature. Yeah, and all these changes bring about a different evolution of the leaves.
And speaking of that, I don't know how much you know about the history. So the original goal of green tea processing, I'm guessing, was to preserve kind of a fresh tea flavor, as close as you can to getting a tea fresh off the bush. Pu'er, I believe, is more out of necessity because they wanted to ship it to a city that could enjoy it, and fresh green tea just doesn't stay fresh that long. So they had to find a process that would kind of preserve that tea flavor for a little longer. Take the trip from Yunnan all the way down to Hong Kong area.
You know that if you really think about history and you go farther back, poor history in Hong Kong is not that old, right?
No,
I
Hong
mean,
Kong's not that old.
the first thing, if you think back in the days, and I mean maybe hundreds of years ago, the fresh tea produced in Yunnan was meant for export. In mainland China, people didn't want that tea from Yunnan because, which was actually mainly green tea, because it was not processed correctly, right? How they like it. So it was processed actually for export. So it was exported, like to Tibet, to Mongolia, and over. I mean, on the tea road, would take very long to bring the tea on the way. So by the time it arrives, yeah, it's it's no more very fresh, and those folks actually were drinking the tea with other spices in it, so it was a completely different approach. Later on, actually, when there was also the Sheng Pu'er coming up, what people in Yunnan would call pu'er at the very beginning in the 70s is actually the Sheng Pu'er. They wouldn't really refer to Sheng Pu'er as a pu'er. Yeah. And so a debate started actually when a Sheng should be, a Heicha and so on. But I say we want to keep all that a little bit out of that video because it's a very complex thing that one day, I will dedicate a whole video
soon.
to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hopefully. Long time in the making, actually. I had this video in mind for very long.
Yeah.
But if we think now about the taste, what can we tell?
So,
sorry, let me ask you actually. You love pu'er. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Between these two, I assume then you like better these. Like, which
I
tea
do.
would you go?
I hate
So
that you
why?
predicted that,
Why?
but yes. Oh, good question. Yeah. So, what is
do
the difference?
What do you
I
like more in that? Yeah.
I find pu'er to be savory. I really like savory flavors more so than green. Green tends to be fresh. There's not a word in English for that, like freshness aspect, but fresh. So I like the savoriness of this pu'er, of all pu'er, Sheng Pu'er. I like the sweetness, the variability on your palate, like you were talking about before. Also, for me, there's a lot more variability within, the pu'er region about how things taste. I mean, green is a lot of variability. Between these two, it's that savoriness, it's the sweetness, it's the kind of unique, bumpy flavor.
Unique bumpy flavor.
Yeah.
That's and what about, for example, complexity, or do you taste any minerality to it, or
between these two? Yeah, I mean, they're actually both pretty complex. It's hard, I guess, now that I think about it, for an individual Sheng Pu'er comparison to an individual green. trying to measure the complexity. When I think of Sheng complexity, I think the differences between different kinds of Sheng. This individual Sheng, it has layers. I think it, it has more lower flavor notes. Like I said, more savory, more sweet kind of base tones. This again, just a lot more lighter tones. Overall complexity, I'm not sure. That's a really good
Smell
question.
this. It's like grass.
Yeah. Or melons.
Melons, yeah.
Yeah, do you have out of these two directly? It's difficult because this is not something I would ever do, is just compare them directly to completely different varieties. And
let's put it this way. We say now we're trying to point out differences, right? We have spoken
so
about, but we've spoken about where is more savory, you said. We said green tea is fresher and more like a grassy taste. We've spoken about the texture, how pu'er is more oily. It reminds, at least to me, more of a wavy ocean rather than a calm ocean. But if we think about what both these teas are not, which bring us to commonalities, is, for example, let's think about an oolong, extremely floral, this very high pitch aroma. None of them has that.
Right.
So without that processing of oolong in which you roll the leaves to bring out all the juices and then you fix them with the heat, you don't have that here. So that's one thing, one way of recognizing, there is a commonality. They are not extremely aromatic tea.
No.
No matter what. You can say a green tea is floral. Will never be a floral like a danzong.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing, let's think of black tea. None of this tea is malty. The type of sweetness that these teas have, this is more sugary sweetness. This is, I don't know, it's difficult to describe which type of, it's more the aftertaste sweetness. And the malty sweetness of black tea, you will not find it in these teas.
Right.
So it's another difference that make them common. Yeah. If you want, I don't know, that makes sense. Another difference with respect to all other teas.
Even more difficult would be picking out the similarities, because they're just very different flavors. And I'm not sure.
Different flavors, especially actually in these longer steeps now, where you have the pu'er that is meant for it, so it's really resisting better. It's that high temperature. While the green tea is kind of already suffering a bit. Probably here we will have. Let's see if we have some bitterness coming out here, but we have really treated badly this green tea, and it has this flashy green color.
It's actually not bitter yet, which is impressive.
Not yet. I have to say that this year, so how did we source tea this year? That's why the first time right now that I drink this tea, since I couldn't go to China because of COVID. Actually, green tea were tasted twice. Like, in particular, no, this one was tasted only once, sorry. So we had one friend that got many different samples. We have only one supplier for Long Guapian that we have sourced in the past, and he sent us many samples. We tasted them all, different price classes, and unfortunately this year the cheaper Long Guapian were really even not worth their price, and he said you have to go for this one, which was a bit more pricey. I don't know exactly how much
worth
the
it.
price.
That's really good.
That's what they said.
That's impressive.
But here you really can see that is able to withstand that high temperature. Actually, might be related to that.
Yeah. They're actually they're becoming more similar. I think the reason is after the first two steeps, some of the brighter notes are washed off, and you're getting kind of the similarity, which is that savoriness is more coming out of, maybe the savoriness is always there, but at first it was more covered up by that brighter high notes, and now they're kind of matching a little bit. So I can see the main similarity. For me, tea has a background of kind of four different things, which to me are grassy vegetal, hay, honey, and then to me, mulberries, although that's questionable, but I always have that, it's especially prominent in Pu'er. Maybe I just like mulberries, and that's why I identify that. But I'm getting all of those notes are kind of merging with these two.
Really?
Go later with Steve, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see that. I mean, there you don't have grassing at all. For me, is more even thirst quenching in a way. Pu'er.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If I think about I need to drink because I'm thirsty, water, green tea, or Sheng Pu'er. Sheng Pu'er. It's like I have the feeling it's like yeah, removing my thirst somehow. Yeah,
Quenching.
quenching is the word.
Yeah. What?
I know, if you don't know.
No, it's yeah. That's interesting. I feel like pu'er tends, or this pu'er, I guess, comparing these two, this one really coats the palate. Your entire mouth is coated, and it's probably the oils leading into that. With the green tea, for lack of better way to describe it, it's watery. So it's
Yeah.
less coating and more straight down the throat. And that's not, again, better or worse. It's just a different kind of the way it feels on the palate.
And look at this. This is super interesting. I mean, I wanted to take a small leaf, and I took this leaf that is cut and is fairly large. But what you can see here, and I'll try to show that to the camera, how clearly you see here oxidation.
Oh, yeah.
So this tea has been withered for quite some time before, because this type of oxidation is something you would expect in a dansong, for example, yeah, in an oolong. But this tea hasn't been, how you say? Rolled.
Pressed.
Before kill the green.
Yeah.
And you see, hopefully, let's try, that you have quite a few brown spots. Probably you see them better on the back of the leaf. And those are all oxidation, yeah. And out the leaves is also thicker somehow, and a completely different color, yeah.
And that's why it can stand up to more steeping, right? Because it's thicker, so it takes longer for the water to penetrate and go through it.
It's thicker, is a completely different green. These leaves have never been green as that, even when you, even if you would process the same way, because we have a difference here in the type of leaf, large leaf variety, small leaf variety. The terroir is completely different. This is a old tree. This is a bush. So
yeah, there's so many differences. Like I said, harder to find similarities and differences. But preference is just, I mean, it's, there are times I want to drink green tea. There's times I want to drink a Sheng Pu'er. Generally, I drink Sheng more, but green's lovely, especially in the summer when it's fresh.
Summer, yeah.
Sheng Pu'er, I kind of feel like it's sort of a summer tea too, as opposed to Shu, which I prefer in the winter, although some people swapped those two.
That's true, that's true, yeah. I've seen that in China, drinking a lot of Shu when it's really hot. That is a hard connection for me, because I also don't associate Shu, with the, I want something in contrast. If the climate is hot, then I go for green tea that is refreshing. I don't go for Shu that I associate more with winter, or even actually more with fall. Yeah. So I have to say, I'm very curious to try this tea steep correctly, like 80 degrees, and get, because it's not turning bitter.
We need another kettle.
But I hope that with this video, first of all, we gave you a lot of information about similarities and differences between the two. I said one very, very clear similarity that I want to repeat here at the very end, before asking you to subscribe our channel if you haven't done it yet, and to give us a thumbs up if you are enjoying this video, is the processing. Both green tea and Sheng Pu'er go to exactly the same processing in general lines, let's say. They are harvested, of course, then kill the green, heated up at high temperature to the enzyme, the leaf, then they are shaped, rolled, if you want, different ways of shaping, but let's say they are rolled to shape them, and then they are dried. Yeah, and sometimes at the very, very beginning, as a very first step, you have some withering. So nonetheless, they look very different, they taste quite different, yeah? And so the very question, are Sheng Pu'er and green tea actually belonging to the same category of tea, or should be kept separated, is a hard one that we will try to answer in a future video.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for watching. Brian, I hope you enjoyed the comparison as well.
Yeah, I can pick my favorite. Are we doing that?
Oh, okay, right? Go ahead. I think I know which is your favorite.
No, I really love the Sheng. This is, but the reason I mentioned that, this is actually a very good Sheng. I've not ever had it before. Just like you said, you want to properly brew this one. I would like to kind of be a little rougher with this one and brew it a little longer and see what we can do with
Ah,
it.
really?
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll continue that. But you will not be part of that because the time is over for the video. Thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you, the next week. Bye, guys.
Thanks. See ya.
Like it?
It's fantastic.
I'm glad you like it. I really love this.